When Local on 2 saw a blog about underwater ghost towns right here in Tennessee, we were hooked. Jennifer Watts is here with the Tennessee State Museum. She actually wrote an article about these locations, now lost to time. This absolutely sounds freaky. So tell us the story of why you're telling us this story.
Well, this is part of our junior curators blogs that we have at the Tennessee State Museum to kind of introduce Tennessee State history in a more fun, engaging way for teachers and younger students.
Okay.
So I was learning a little bit about what life was like in the 1930s here in Tennessee with the Great Depression and the Tennessee Valley Authority, and learned about them having to flood areas to build these reservoirs behind the new dams. And I started wondering, well, what happened to the people? And you get to that point where you get a question, you find the answer, but it leads to 12 other questions.
Yes.
So I started looking into what happened to the communities that were after.
I love this because, as we know, there are so many lakes in Tennessee, but Jennifer says some have secrets. I do want to, we have some really incredible footage of a before and after. So I want you to explain how these sunken towns actually came to be. So what are we looking at?
So this is actually the community of Loyston. So Loyston's on the Clinch River, and luckily we have a lot of the photographs of this time period from the famous photographer Lewis Hine, who did a lot of early rural life in East Tennessee prior to the 1920s, early 20th century. And so these are some of the photos that were collected of rural life of different areas. So you see the nice town, the main roads, businesses, churches, schools are all going to be incorporated, and in just a few years they're no longer there.
And in just a few years, here it is. This is actually an aerial view, and what are we looking at here?
This is actually going to be the foundation. So every so often we get droughts in Tennessee, and the water levels of some of these lakes and reservoirs will drop. And this one, I believe, is Willow Grove. So Willow Grove was a community that was flooded in the 1940s. So every so often you'll get little peaks of the foundations of many of these buildings that were left behind.
And I do want to say that they were given, these people back in the day were given plenty of time before.
Notice.
So explain why exactly did they do this? You said you learned a lot about the TVA.
So the TVA, we had a lot of issues with flooding and erosion for the farmers in the communities. So the TVA is coming in years before, offering farmers the opportunity to learn new farming techniques, but showing how the control of the river flows would prevent the flooding and also prevent their farmland from just simply washing away. So there's a lot of benefits for the community. So they did have plenty of notice to kind of start planning on ahead what's going to happen.
Okay, very good, exactly, because I was worried about it. Now, this is spanned across time, really and truly. So it was in the 30s, even up till the 70s, you say?
Yes.
1970s.
Yeah, late 1970s, Lake Tellico over in Monroe County, where we actually had two historic villages of the Cherokee Nation, one of which was Tanassi. UT Knoxville came out, excavated these original sites, and then the floodwaters came in. So they actually have monuments out there now where you can still kind of remember these communities.
Well, and I know that you can actually walk to the closest one by your house. Percy Priest, my friends, listening up, if you've ever swam in there, tell them what is underneath the water.
So when I was doing the research for this, I actually found out, I live near Percy Priest Lake, and there was a community named Couchville, and part of the planning in the 1960s was the relocation of that community. So part of Percy Priest is now covering over the former community of Couchville. The road, part of the road is still there, and there's a recreational area named for the town, not too far.
What other areas in Tennessee exist with these sunken towns?
You find a lot of them more into the headwaters of East Tennessee, so Clay County, Union County on the Clinch River, Monroe County. So you're finding a lot of more in the headwaters, but you do find some here locally in Middle Tennessee as well.
What have you learned about this time period, these time periods when you did uncover all this information?
The resilience that you see of the people. It's kind of unique, people knocking on your door and being like, okay, well, you need to move. We're about to flood your town. but not giving up.
Wonderful.
Wanting to start a new life, going new.
So awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Find out more about these underwater ghost towns online at tnmuseum.org. Also plan your visit. They are great about presenting Tennessee's history in a fun and exciting way.